Welcome to the Pansa Pansa Forum. In the Yoruba language, the word pansa is usually injected into poetry to express an uncomfortable, uncensored, and inconvenient truth. The Pansa Pansa Forum is candid conversations about the life of African immigrants in America as it relates to their adaptation to their new home. While some may find it easy to integrate and can balance between retaining the original African culture while accepting the culture of their new home, many continue to struggle to find a balance between both worlds.
Hello and welcome to Pansa Pansa Live. This is a podcast where we discuss the lives of African immigrants and their assimilation into Western society as they raise younger generations in a country that is quite different from their own. We also explore the experiences of children of immigrants as they balance the African and Western cultures. We present to you this informative, interesting, and expansive dialogue about the intricate experiences of African immigrants in America.
So welcome to Pansa Pansa Live Podcast. I'm your host, Kemi Seriki, and today I'm so honored to have Dr. Mojúbàolú Olúfúnké Okome. Dr. Okome is a social scientist, a professor of political science and African women's studies at Brooklyn College in New York City. She is the sole author and editor of 7 books and the founder as well as the editor of peer-reviewed Irekerido, a journal of African migration. Dr. Okome is a co-founder and up to 2010, a co-editor of Gender Journal of African Studies, Culture and African Women's Studies. So welcome, Dr. Okome, to Pansa Pansa Podcast. It's truly a pleasure to have you on this platform. I want to express my sincere gratitude for taking the time to join me today to express your expertise on such a critical topic on African migration to the United States and the diversity of African immigrants in America. I'm so excited about the depth of knowledge and the insight you will bring to our audience today, both in the United States and around the world. So thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for having me, my sister. And you are doing good work. Keep it up.
Yeah, thank you so much. So to start off, I really like to tease my guests from time to time. I know I introduced you, but could you fully introduce yourself to our audience to share a bit of your background, including where you were born, which I love to hear that, where you spent most of your childhood and adult life?
So my name is usually mispronounced. It's Mojúbàolú Olúfúnké Okome.
Okay.
And I was born in Nigeria, in Lagos. So I'm a Lagos girl. And that is where I feel most comfortable. That's where I am happiest. And that's where I'm going to retire to. And I go to Nigeria ever since I came to the US in 1981. I have gone to Nigeria almost every year, with the exception of the pandemic years.
Okay.
Because, I study Africa. So I'm an international relations person, and I focus on international political economy. And then Africa is the region of focus in terms of my expertise. But I chose to also focus on African women's studies because I was very displeased with what I was reading and, the way people think African women are. Even people who are experts on gender. And then, in terms of Africa, it was a hard thing for me to get to study Africa at Columbia University because I was discouraged by my mentors from studying Africa. They said I wouldn't get a job if I did. And at that time, what my mentors were interested in, because it was at the height of the Cold War, when I started my PhD in 1982, that, I should study superpower relations. And I said I wasn't interested. So actually one person dropped me and said, I can't advise you. The other person just kind of, reluctantly accepted me.
For our audience, what is supernatural relations?
Superpowers. Superpowers at that time, the Cold War, remember, was the US, and the Soviet Union.
Oh.
Looking at their relationship. If I had done that, actually, let's say I had taken their advice, I would have a very high-powered position now because they would have plugged me into their old boys network. But, I'm a very opinionated person. And I told my professors I didn't come to the US to come and study superpower relations. I came to study at Columbia University because I thought it was one of the best schools, and that Africa is what I want to study. Whether I get, and they said, you won't get a job. I said, I don't care. So it was a struggle right from then. And I think it's a good thing because it made me understand that if I wanted to do this, I had to be willing to sacrifice. I think many people have rose-colored perspectives of these Ivy League universities and what America is and whatever. That really opened my eyes to some of the limits of what is possible. And for me, it's okay if Columbia wants to focus on what they want to focus on. This is what I want to study. And I thought it was a free marketplace of ideas, so I struggled in order to do what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it. And I'm very happy. Right now, I'm not obliged to be anybody's like a slave.
That's right.
My professor helped me, so I cannot disobey my professor. That didn't happen. So, I'm very free.
And I'm glad you carried that Lagos challenging personality with you to tell them no. Because you have to look at the cultural aspect of the way we do things. Because I told
my professors that I'm from Lagos. And I said, go and look it up, okay? So that you'll understand why I'm behaving the way I'm behaving. And I have no apologies. But many of us actually are not like that. Because when you do that with your professor, let me tell you, whatever power they have, they will use it in a way that lets you know that you have made the wrong choice. And my professors did that. So many people play it safe and they will agree with the professor. They will say, after I get my PhD, I can do whatever I want. That's also another strategy. But that's not the kind of person I am. So I wouldn't recommend what I did to anybody that doesn't have the courage to suffer. You will suffer.
But you did your undergraduate in Nigeria.
Yes, at the University of Ibadan, the best university in the world.
How would you rate it, at that time compared to now? What was your experience at that time compared to now?
It's like night and day. At that time, university education was a very elite experience. So when I got to UI in 1976, I had one roommate in Queen's Hall. We had our clothes laundered, so you will put your clothes in this bag and they will come and carry it and wash it for you. And then we had our rooms cleaned and we had a bursary, which is like a stipend. We had a book, free books, essentially. The food in the cafeteria was excellent.
Wow.
And then the whole ambience on the campus, you kind of felt like you were in a fantastic place. And then you see, it's not like education in America where people have to be working and whatever. We didn't work. All you had to do was study, get good grades. And, so it was a beautiful life. So I have gone back again and again, as I said. I have done fellowships at the University of Ibadan. It breaks my heart. I've been on the campus of University of Lagos, OAU. They are shadows of their past selves. At that time, they were like hallowed halls of knowledge where everything was beautiful. One complaint I have about that time is that it was just a few people out of the large number of qualified people that could have access to that education. It was very competitive and a small elite experience. I don't believe that education should be kept to a small number of people, So that's the only complaint I have. But that time, education was excellent. And then we protested also. Ali must go and all those things.
Yeah.
And then against the military and, some of their policies. So I went on protests. It was for me, the best years of my life.
But how diversified was it at that time? What were the diversity of the students at that time? Were they, because I've heard many students who are from Europe, many whites from Europe, from all over the world.
Forget about the white people. Yes, there were Americans who came, both African Americans and white Americans. There were students from South Africa and the frontline states, Zambia, Zimbabwe, and Southern African countries that were fighting wars of liberation. They came on scholarship to Nigeria. I have friends who, one of them studied vet medicine at University of Ibadan, an American. One of them came from Harvard to study with a Nigerian professor to do her specialization in tropical medicine. And she's now a top UN official heading one of the UN bodies. So it was very diverse. And then even in UI, people from all over Nigeria came. And then, the way they selected the VCs, you didn't have to be from Ibadan or Yoruba to be a VC in UI. I don't think there's unproblematic meritocracy, but, it was a sort of meritocratic system. Many of our professors, we also had professors who came from abroad. So, for example, Professor Richard Joseph was sponsored by Ford Foundation to come to University of Ibadan to teach political science. And he supervised my undergraduate thesis on Nigerian politics. And I'm still in touch with him because he wants to give back. He's been giving back to Nigeria. He wants to donate his papers to NIIA and sponsor this collaborative learning initiative. And I'm working with him on that. So, it was a beautiful introduction to academia. And I learned so much. Our professors were excellent. They were excellent and they were highly motivated. I think many professors now are frustrated because conditions are bad.
Yeah.
And, people don't respect intellectuals in Nigeria the way intellectuals were respected at that time.
At that time. Wow. We've lost so much.
Yeah.
And where do you think this system crumbled? How did it become what it has been? Because I said, like I told somebody, I said, Nigeria produced so much PhDs, doctors, that if you put all of them, this is the statement I used to make. I said, if you put all of them on Olumorok, they will actually crush Olumorok. Because we have so many PhDs, we have so many people in different areas. But
and we're still producing PhDs.
Yeah, and we still produce it. But where did everything go down? Even from the primary school level, to the extent many of our PhD, they are not writing books. They're not bringing out textbook or research paper to design education according to our own system.
All right. So where did it come from? I think the oil boom in Nigeria was the beginning of serious money misroad in a way that affected everything, including the education. But what really was the nail in the coffin was structural adjustment.
Yes, SAP.
So SAP, the structural adjustment program, and many people don't recognize the fact that some of the institutions that they respect a lot, the World Bank and the IMF, are the ones that are the architects of structural adjustment. But then the reason why we had to take structural adjustment is because we had unsustainable debt, which means our government borrowed too much and our exports were not sufficient. They were not earning sufficiently to pay for our imports. We're very import dependent in Nigeria. And being import dependent is actually one of the things, concentrating on your comparative advantage means that whatever you are producing, that you are producing better than anybody else, which for us is oil. It became oil, remember? Oil was earning a lot of money because of the Arab-Israeli conflict. of the 1970s and the oil crisis. We were making serious money. So what some of the liberal economic theories say that we should do is concentrate on that and then buy the things we are not producing. But it was the road to ruin because we were following the advice of these experts. But nowadays, when people are saying, okay, what is the Nigerian government doing? They don't see the role of multilateral institutions like the World Bank and the IMF in giving bad advice that led us down this path. So, well, the thing is, if you have debt, your exports cannot pay for your imports. You have to go to the IMF and ask for help. It's called balance of payments assistance. So when you do that, they give you conditionalities, which taken together is SAP. Conditionalities meaning you must prioritize the paying of your debt. You must cut down the size of government. Stop spending on social services, including education. And that is why the hospitals in Nigeria became hellholes. And the universities also became devastated because of the advice that this is what should be done. And the governments of the time, and even now, are very happy to not be spending on education because this is where people will be criticizing them for all the policies horrible policies that they are producing. So this is the beginning of the problem that the governance, and if people want to go and look it up, there's this document that the World Bank published in the 1970s, late 70s, titled Accelerated Development in Sub-Saharan Africa, where they recommended that we should concentrate on primary education. Don't spend on university because you can hire experts. Up until now, we have more confidence in foreign experts coming to tell us what we already know, and also leading us to take the wrong decisions. Because I think even the administration we have today, the Tinubu administration, is not necessarily drawing on Nigerian expertise. It's listening too much to all these foreign consultants and the World Bank. And it is the road to ruin. So structural adjustment began it, and we never stopped structural adjustment. But now with Tinubu, it is on steroids, just like how it was in the early days when Nigeria was forced to take structural adjustment because Nigeria was compelled to do it. Coups happened because Nigeria resisted. The Babangida coup was an IMF coup. They wanted people that they could control there. So I think that this may sound far-fetched, right? But that was actually the research that I did for my PhD that is published in a book titled A Sapped Democracy, the Political, Economic, and Political Liberalization in Nigeria. It was the journey of Nigeria from being a bit more independent in terms of how it's made policy to taking structural adjustment and the damage that it did. So that's where it began. Then, people blame corrupt governments for many of our problems. Yes, we have kleptocratic, that is, they are pathological thieves.
Liars.
Thieves. Pathological thieves. They steal a lot, but they are doing it with the assistance that they're getting from many of these foreign governments and foreign businesses who want them to be the ones in control so that nothing changes. So I think that it's heartbreaking because Nigerians criticized these policies, even offered people like Professor Badi Onimode, people like Professor Claude Ake, people like Professor Olukoshi. Claude Ake and Onimode have passed away, but their books are there where they criticized SAP. Professor Adebayo Adedeji also, who also has passed away. Their books are there to show us the criticisms they made and how the advice they gave in terms of what we should do. So it's not for lack of Nigerian intellectuals saying, this is what we should do. Even ASU wrote something called a green book where it provided alternatives to SAP.
Yeah.
The government didn't listen. So I think that we Nigerians need to understand that we didn't get here because people were not critical, because people didn't offer alternatives, because people did not fight the government. We got here because the people who did that were treated like voices in the wilderness.
Yeah.
Nobody read their books anyway, so nobody knows what happened.
What happened? And I'm so glad you gave a lot of all this background, because people who always criticize, oh, all these immigrants coming from different parts of the world, coming from Africa, coming to this country, why can't they stay in their own country? Without understanding, it's your government who are actually dipping their hands in the pocket of so many of this country for these people to be here. If the country will have been stable, they won't be here in the first place. When I first came to this country in 1982, Naira was equal to $2.
Me too, when I came. Yeah.
Was equal to $2, to the extent when you take Nigerian passport to the bank, that's enough for your ID. And people were not staying at that time. People just come in, they want to go back home and become somebody to give back to the country. And the colonization, I don't know what the impact of why this government think that they cannot stand up against this power. Does it have a reflection on that?
Okay, so scholars talk about us being independent, but still that there's neo-colonialism. So, it is no longer white people who are in those government positions. But the country that colonized us, Britain, and then the US now, it has so much economic power. And then they have an influence actually on who comes to power. Every time people want to campaign in Nigeria for presidency, they have to go to Chatham House to be talking. Chatham House is in London. Oh. They actually hustle for invitation to Chatham House to go and tell the British what they're doing. They hustle for invitation to America to come and tell the Americans what they're doing. And actually, there are also things going on that are very troubling to me. That sometimes, I'm aware that when the British, let's say, give you assistance for education, they will send people to the Ministry of Education to be helping you to write education policy. And we accept that kind of assistance. Can you see a situation where any Nigerian comes to the UK to be helping them as a Nigerian, or not as a British person, to write education policy? We take their books as aid, and that is what we teach to our children. We have not decolonized education. And you see, again, in the days of nationalist struggle for independence, people were talking about the need to do all these things, that we should decolonize education. Professor Fafunwa, who was a minister for education and a professor at the University of Ife at that time, but OAU now, used to talk about using the mother tongue to teach children, that if you use the mother tongue to teach them things like science and math and everything else, it will enter their head better. So it is not for lack of people saying that this is what we should do. It's lack of political will. I think it's not just us. It is also external influence in terms of what powerful countries want in our country that influences who gets to be president. So when people are running to Britain and running to America and saying, come and help us, nobody's going to help you. You have to help yourself. There's a joke in international relations that's called the Tanfield principle. There ain't nothing like a free lunch in international politics. If somebody gives you anything, they want something in return. So this is what is killing us, that we think aid is going to rescue us. Aid is not aid. Aid is an instrument of foreign policy. That if I give something, I must get something back. And so having a government that is non-functional can be good for international business to some extent. They can carry as much oil as they want. We don't know how much is being carried. They can even help the oil bunkerers to bunker. We don't pay attention to that.
They can sell weapons too.
Yeah, they sell weapons. So what we need to do is realize that nobody is going to save us. We must save ourselves. And the way to do that is to do real, solid, participatory democracy, where it is not like you are going to allow somebody to say "Emi Lokon" and they just waltz into power and buy votes and do whatever they want. And now look at where we are. So we've been allowing clueless, incompetent, and callous people to come to power, to live very well while the majority is suffering. Now it is worse, but trust me, this is not the beginning of the crisis that we have been in, because many people see themselves as helpless. They see these people as long as they bring rice and they give you during the campaign, at least they're doing something, or they come and give 1 billion naira to do landscaping, they're doing something. Meanwhile, that is pork barrel politics. Like politics where there's no accountability, but they're using money to buy influence. You know, democracy doesn't work like that if we say that democracy is what we want. So everybody needs to realize that we are all part of the problem. We're enabling the people who are using and abusing us to stay in power and then talk to us as if we are idiots.
But do you think it's actually possible in a country that they formulate as Nigeria, where ethnic rivalry is going animosity, whereby we feel, the Yoruba are this, the Igbos are this. You talk about Biafra war, all those issues of the past that continue to shed till today. And the British who formulated Nigeria and bring all these people together as one, only for their own benefit, not for the benefit of those people. Do you think it's possible to come up with this suggestion of peace that you were talking about today?
I think it's possible, but I think it's difficult. First of all, the problem is not just the British. The problem is that we have what dependency scholars call compradors, who are leaders in our country who form alliances with the neo-colonial forces that come to prey on us, to plunder our country. It's an alliance, it's like an association, but our leaders are the neo-colonialist countries, are the kingpins, and our leaders are the henchmen, you know. So they are not the top, but they're there working together. Now, what can ordinary people do? I think many people, when President Tinubu was coming, the Yorubas were saying he was coming to represent them, right? That our local, Abi. How is it that any Yoruba poor person has benefited
from him,
from President Tinubu being there? The same you can say for President Goodluck Jonathan. The same you can say for President Buhari. How has any Hausa person that is poor benefited from President Buhari being there? How has anybody that's been poor benefited when President Obasanjo was there? You are a poor Nigerian and you are Yoruba. Because Obasanjo was there, it benefited you. You know, so I think this notion of representation that we have, that because our person is there, then it is advantageous. We need to check ourselves and realize that, you see, the elites, when you look at the elites in Nigeria, they actually are not fighting one another.
No.
They do business together. So why is it that ordinary people allow these elites to use the language of, I'm your person and I'm representing you, to continue to cheat us? And to continue also to sponsor violence, where it is really poor people's children that are dying. Do you see their children dying from these conflicts?
They are in the West.
So, ordinary people need to understand that we have actually common interest. And that common interest is in the well-being of the majority. The majority of Nigerians are poor, not rich. So If we realize that and we begin to work on that basis, we're going to do better. But it's going to take a long time because it took us a while to get to this mess that we are in. And it's going to take a longer time to rebuild.
Yeah.
But if we continue to be at loggerheads, because some of the other problems is Christians don't want to work with Muslims. They don't have any respect for people who practice traditional religions. Men think that women should be kept down.
Yeah.
So if we continue to do this, the country is never going to rise to its full potential. So we need to create a Nigeria where every Nigerian is treated as if they are worthwhile, as if they are valued, as if they deserve everything that these kleptocrats, meaning major, massive thieves, are taking just for themselves. It belongs to all of us. There is no reason why a country should be in the kind of economic crisis that Nigeria is in. And our priority is buying SUVs for the members of the National Assembly, building a new house for the vice president, buying a yacht for the president, buying new presidential jets, and all kinds of foolishness, and all this foreign travel, especially for medical care. When Nigerians will die from malaria, because our hospitals, ever since SAP, we started not spending enough money on the hospitals to make them places where people can be properly taken care of. It is a disgrace.
You remember Mercy Hospital?
I remember.
All those places were well equipped.
And UCH when I was in UI, and then Luth. Some of our scholars who worked in those hospitals were actually highly respected internationally. So when people leave, some people are leaving. We talk about brain drain because they're frustrated, because you don't even have the tools to do your work properly. And you don't have the surroundings
to support,
that, inspire you to do anything well. And then you are not respected. You are not valued. So people are leaving, and I don't blame anybody that leaves, but the reason I keep going back, and when I do, sometimes I do free workshops. I have donated books. I chose to do my fellowships in Nigeria when I could do them elsewhere, because I believe that we cannot just leave and turn our backs. And then I have a place in Lagos, my own place, that I spend time in, that I'm going to retire to. I'm not going to retire and stay in the US. So I think it's important for us to go back and be part of not just complaining, but creating solutions with all the frustrations that entails. Because it is not necessarily true that Nigerians respect me or trust me. They're always abusing me, that I don't know anything. I'm enjoying in America and I want to come and talk in Nigeria about problems, and I'm not patriotic. But I don't need their respect. I know who I am. I don't need their love. I know who I am. Some of them, after over 40 years of knocking my head against the wall, some of them trust me now and say, oh, she has something to say. But majority of Nigerians don't respect me or think I'm knowledgeable about anything. So that is also the problem, that sometimes people from the diaspora who want to come, we treat them badly and abuse them. But when they bring money, we take it. And then this fact that we don't have the vote, the diaspora doesn't have the vote in Nigeria, except if you go when they are voting to vote. So you are going to leave your job, or tell them on the job that I'm going to vote in Nigeria, right?
But it is so sad, but you give very extensive background of why many immigrants are here. And I understand even what you say regarding if you have what it takes to go back to give back in Nigeria is a good thing for those who are capable of doing, because not everybody have that resources or being able to have a place to stay and said, I want to go back and do this, because there's so many people who went back and they end up coming back. They end up in a situation whereby
there are many frustrations.
Frustration that, especially when you retire, someone like you, when you go back, you're going to come back because you have your papers, to be able to, you've paid your health insurance, you pay your Social Security, you pay, you
I've
you know,
saved. I've
you
saved
save.
in a way that
You
I
save.
have planned.
Mm-hmm.
I have an annuity
Yeah.
that will support me
Yeah.
until I die.
Yes.
So,
So
I think Erolo Begbegiri, that if I think many of us also don't plan very well
yeah.
for the future. We are very presentist in terms of what we do. One of the things that breaks my heart is when people die and then we're taking up collection.
Yeah.
I think it's important. Once you get a job, you must start planning for retirement, And that's what I did, because there's compound interest. Helps you to have what you need, and then you go and sit down with experts and plan it out. It is not rocket science. So this thing about I retire and I can't afford, we need to put an end to it. If it is happening to our generation, we must make sure it doesn't happen to our children's generation. So I tried to let my children know my formula. And let me tell you, my formula is simple. Once I got my full-time job, I put 20% of my earnings in an annuity with an organization I trust, which is TIAA-CREF. It's for teachers and university people. So that money has grown. So I don't touch 20%. It goes right there. And then the rest is what I spend on everything else. I think if people can put this in place, you will see that you will retire very comfortably.
Because one thing that I want to have that conversation later on about retirement. What does it look like for African immigrants in this country? Because one thing that I find out, some people even went back home, then they end up coming back because of health situation. Because in many different parts of Africa, there's no health care adequate enough to take care of you. So you end up coming here. So who would you be a burden on? If you have children, are they able to care for you? Are they able to house you? So it's a lot of all these things, but I'm going to...
You have to get your own house, or your own apartment or something, so like I said, there's utility in planning, and nobody is all wise. There are people whose expertise is to help people to plan for retirement. Consult with, or for investment, consult with them, not fly-by-night people, though. You do your research, you find good institutions, and you listen to the advice, and it works out. The other part of this is, you see, the healthcare situation for elderly people. Myself, condition full my body. But I spent my last sabbatical 1 whole year in Nigeria, and not in Lagos, where I have my apartment, but in Kuru. Kuru is the backwaters of Jos. It's not even Jos. It's like, to get to Jos, it's like 35 to 40 minutes from there. But the place is the National Institute for Policy and Strategic Studies. So they have a clinic. Jos itself has teaching hospital and all kinds of medical facilities. So it is possible to live in Nigeria and to be taken care of, okay? It is just costly. You will spend more money than you think. The other thing about this is that, I said, we can't all stay away. And you know what? Some wonderful young people who are medical doctors are going back now. Two of them, their stories have been making the rounds in social media, but they are not the only ones. So one of them is a professor at Johns Hopkins or something. Or is it MIT? I can't even remember. I think his institution is supporting him to be in Nigeria. And he has set up a center of excellence in his area of specialization. These are part of the things we could do to give back. Because some of these institutions are comfortable enough to say, okay, you can go. We'll support you. Or sometimes a person just goes and gives it a try. If we leave it to these government people, nothing is going to change. So anybody that can go, whether it's for like 2 months or for 6 weeks or for even 2 weeks, to do some medical outreach, please do so. The Nigerian medical people in the US also sometimes have these, what do they call them? Health whatevers that go to some villages and give service, anything that anybody can do in that respect. But really, setting up centers of excellence to do medical care. If we do it, India will no longer be taking our money. People from West Africa will be coming to patronize the Nigerian centers of excellence, and we will become a medical hub in that region. So it can even make money. But we are all very pessimistic, number one. Number two, don't let me deceive you. It is very hard to set up anything and have it succeed in the long term in Nigeria. I mean, I have experienced, because I've never, I live here in the US, but I also live in Nigeria every summer.
Yeah.
And then for every year, every 7 years, I get a sabbatical. I go and live in Nigeria for 1 year.
Wow.
So it's not like I don't know how it is. But we can't say because it's difficult.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is only somebody who is not truly born by the father that will say, oh, my father's house is nonsensical. You have to take care of your own. And if we don't take care of Nigeria, we will not get respect internationally.
That's so true.
So you heard Trump, he put Nigeria among the shithole countries. And then some Nigerians were agreeing with him that we are shithole.
Because, many people we have, because like I said, being that the situation where many of us end up coming here, as really, you gave a big background, extensive background on it. So it's so much that we're struggling with. It is so much, it's so painful for so many of us to say we can.
So America is heaven.
No.
It is a racist place.
I understand. I don't want to go into.
But we like that racism.
No.
Because we have light. I'm serious. We have light. The roads are good. The electricity, NEPA doesn't fail. Food is available. Medical care is available. So because of that, we can take racism, right? We can take disrespect. Look, no matter how long I have spent in this country, people still ask me, where are you from?
Of course.
And then on the job, if I dress like this to go to work and to go anywhere, people think that I don't know anything.
Yeah.
So in Nigeria, as much as I have complained, I get respect, actually.
Yeah.
I get respect from younger people the way I don't get it here. I get respect as a scholar by the people who know me, not the people who don't know, who have read my books.
Thank you so much, Dr. Okome. So thank you. Now on your essay, Dr. Okome, titled African Immigrant in United States, the Dimension of Migration, Immigration and Exile. So I recently read the essay, and it resonates with so many discussions that I've had on my podcast regarding the lack of research focused on African immigrants, which is part of what you talk about respect in US. Often we find ourselves grouped with Latino immigrant, African American, and other immigrants of community of color. And as a result, they overlook so many unique challenges African immigrants face in America. So while there are so many commonalities among us, of these different groups, I believe it is so essential to recognize the distinct issues African immigrants encounter. So can you start by explaining what motivated your interest to write this essay?
Well, my being an immigrant motivated it. And at the time I started the research in the 1990s, not too many people were focusing on the contemporary African migration to the United States. A lot of the experiences that I had, negative, also motivated me. And then I felt obliged to, number one, document. Number two, analyze. Number three, maybe prescribe solutions in a way that contributes to posterity. So not just for the present, but for the future. Also, there's that gap that you're talking about.
Yeah.
But you see, it is people who have a problem that have to solve it all. You cannot depend on anybody to solve your problems. One thing that I noticed also is that we don't set up institutions. We have hometown associations. And those hometown associations are good because they enable people to come around. You can speak your language to people who understand it. You can even do projects back home together. But we have to go beyond that.
Hometown churches and mosques.
We have to go beyond that. We also sometimes will have like an association of Nigerian whatever. We have to go beyond that. Because politics, democracy is a numbers game. If we want to succeed here, Black people, if we keep drawing lines, none of us is going to get anywhere politically in terms of getting the resources that our communities need to survive, to thrive, and to succeed so that the next generation does better than this present generation. Okay, so we need social services that we don't get, but many of us are lone rangers. As long as I'm successful, I don't believe it's my job to start a social, like an NGO that takes care of the problems of even Nigerian immigrants in America, because we have this notion that we are all successful. But we have people where domestic violence is a problem. We have people, we have children who are also sexually harassed and molested in their families. We have students in the schools where there's need for advocacy for those children to get the best out of the educational system. We have need to mentor young people so that they can also succeed educationally and in their careers. So if you look, the Haitian community, I really admire them. It's a small country, but there are a lot of Haitian NGOs that are doing this thing. Okay, if you look at, what NGOs exist to give services to the African immigrant community and to do advocacy. I think there's African Services, there's Sauti Yetu.
And those are from East Africa.
They are from East Africa, but they try, They try. There was Nawiyon. I don't know how active they are now. They were serving Liberian and Sierra Leonean refugees at the height of their refugee issues during the civil war in both countries. So this is something we need to do. Nobody is going to do it for us. Then some of our houses of worship. You know what? If you have domestic abuse problem and you take it to some of the churches, you are not going to get help. They will tell you to be praying for the man and to bear it and not wash your dirty linen on the street. So we need to realize that if these services are to be provided, and you know what? There's also government funding that supports these NGOs to do their work. So it's not like you have to do it out of your own pocket. I think we need to have more NGOs. And so if we want, let it be Nigerians set up their own, Ghanaians set up their own, and whatever, but we need more. And we need it yesterday. The other thing is this mentoring that I'm talking about. What are we doing to mentor the next generation? You know, how are we giving back in a way that makes sure that the bad experiences that we triumphed over, our children are not going to be replaying the same story? Many of us don't even talk to our children about it or tell them about strategies that are useful in this terrain. I'm saying this because, I mentor people. I mentor academics who are women, students, and even, my white colleagues. I think it's important to realize that if we have privileges, the more you have, the more you are required to give back. To whom much is given, much is required. That's how I live my life.
Yeah.
And setting up institutions takes away the overwhelming aspect of it on one person.
Yeah.
And then setting up those institutions so that it's not like you are building an empire for yourself is important. Build a large tent, be inclusive, realize that you can also learn. You can learn from young people. So it's not just giving back to them, it's also learning from them. Like this technology, how to navigate it. They know it better than us.
Even there's so many things they could also bring in, because when I first started this conversation about community conversation, is about what I see within our community between African immigrant parents and their children, what is going on. And I've been seeing so many of our children coming into the criminal justice system at a very young age. And I was wondering what was going on. How can we
deal with it? We don't deal with it.
How can we? And when I started this conversation, I went to different religious organizations. I tried to get involved to tell them, listen, we need to have this conversation. We need to set up something. But you face a lot of rejection because, we're Senegalese, you are Nigerians, you don't know.
Or if you are Muslim and you go to a church, they'll say you are not you should join their church.
You are not part of.
If you don't join their church, they are not going to do anything.
So we have not really overcome all this kind of mentality that we brought from home. And it's something that we need to openly talk about. And like I said, when I started this, I didn't have so many support. I didn't have people, because I thought if I bring it out, many people will be interested. And you find that they are not interested. And like you said, when my own is good, when I'm doing well, what is my own with other people? If my children are not in trouble, what do I care about other people's children, whatever they are going through? So we have that kind of mentality that is going on with us, and we have to change it. And then we have to look at what we can do to make things better within our communities. So, and I want to ask you a question. We know the interest of immigrant studies has to be initiated and funded. It's part of your area. Who is responsible for this initiation and funding of African immigrant studies? Because let me tell you, it's something that when people need to refer to something, how do we serve these people? They will go into the studies. They will try to search academic paper that, okay, let's go into those who have done research and see how we can serve these people better.
Okay, so I'm self-funding the journal, which I established in 2002.
Mm-hmm.
Most of my work is self-funded. I'm funding it from my salary.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but there's a possibility of getting funding by looking at, I think the Soros Foundation funds some initiatives on new Americans. The US government also gives funding for research. Some of these foundations, give funding for research. However, it is time consuming to start writing grant. It can be a full-time job. That's why I fund things with my own salary. But, I am going to retire in 4 years. At that time, I would have enough space to really devote myself to doing this work the way I see it necessary to be done. Now, I also have to say that you see the journal that I publish, that is free, it is free. I don't sell it. It's free, it's online. It is carried by more than 600 libraries worldwide. So for me, that is better than any money that I can make, because people are reading my work. And then, as much of my work as is possible, that is not copyrighted by the publishers who don't contribute anything, but they want to own it. I put it online on academia.edu, on researchgate.net. And then I have this blog that I do occasionally so that my work is available. But I think that there's also space to kind of look for funding. And, there's this institution called the Foundation Center. It's right there in New York City, where you can go to sit in their library and do research on funding. You just talk to their reference librarians and they'll point you to, this is These are the people funding XYZ, you know. So it is possible to seek funding, but I don't have time, you know. And then if somebody is giving you funding, they want to drive the research, you know, you have to tailor it to what they want. I don't have time for that right now, you know. So that's why I do my work the way I do it, that I use my salary to fund most of my research. Of course, every once in a while, like I apply for funding from my institution and I get it. It's very tiny. It funds part of my research, but a lot of what I do is self-funded because for me, it is a calling. This is something I saw the need and I want to do, and I do not have time to be playing to the particular interest of any funder.
It's really something that I think it needs to be looked at, because many times when I'm looking into African immigrant studies in the diaspora, I see much more research work being done in Canada.
In Europe, actually.
In Europe also, than in United States, where there's so...
Canada, you know, Canada, scholars in Canada get better funding than scholars who are looking at Africa in the US. So I have to actually make this point. Okay, so I went to Germany for one semester in 2015. I was on sabbatical.
Okay.
You know what? As soon as I got there, they told me I was at the Max Planck Institute for Cultural and Religious Studies in Göttingen. They gave me a nice office, a top-notch, you know, state-of-the-art computer.
Okay.
And their library was fantastic. Then they said to me, if there's anything you need that we don't have in our library, make a list and we will get it for you. I was blown away. And then, you see, in Germany, as a scholar, when I was in that institute, and among people who know that I'm a scholar, the kind of respect that I got, I don't get it in the US. Okay, first of all, they would call me Professor, Dr., Mrs., the three, Okome. And then, you know, listen to me. And then for somebody to say to me, whatever you need to do your research that we don't have, we will get. And they got it. I've never, you know, I've taught at Brooklyn College since 2000. Before that, I was at Fordham University teaching full-time, tenure track. Now I got tenured. 2006 is when I became a full professor. I don't get that kind of treatment, like whatever you need. So of course I got to work and I told them everything I needed and they got it in no time flat. So I was able to do my research in a way that I didn't have to stress.
So let me ask you, do you think because we're sandwiching between African Americans and the Latino and other immigrants, they don't think there's any unique need?
Okay, so what kind of advocacy do we do for ourselves? If you look at who is advocating for Africa, it is not Africans, or it is not led by Africans. Go check it. Some of the advocacy groups are religious, like the Quakers. They have an Africa initiative. You have the Catholic Church, Catholic Charities. They do advocacy and get funding to do Africa issues. African immigrants don't set up anything to advocate for us. And then when we set up, you see this idea that, we're competing with African Americans and Latinx people. Well, it's not going to carry us anywhere. If there's any affinity group that we have here, it's actually African Americans, African Caribbean people, Afro-Latino people. If we all don't find a way to work together, we're all going to lose. Okay? Now, that is one side. The other side of things is what concretely are we Africans doing to establish think tanks that do policy research and advocacy for Africa? We're dead in the water, and then we start complaining. So all these things don't happen by magic. People have to do it. And then we have to get over our hang-ups. Us Anglophone people don't like to talk to the Francophone people.
Which is...
And nobody remembers the Lusophone, that they're Portuguese-speaking Africans.
Yeah.
And then Nigerians and Ghanaians, it's not just the jollof rice wars. We're fighting wars against one another.
Yeah.
You know, so if we don't get over this stuff, find ways of building coalitions that set up Africa-centered, policy-oriented think tanks, Africa-oriented advocacy institutions, service-providing institutions, where we are open to collaboration with like-minded people.
Yes.
We're not going to get anywhere. And then our children will suffer the same things that we're suffering now.
And I see it even among our children that kind of belief system is also shedding over, whereby there's some of them that integrate into different communities.
Because we teach them, we teach them not to trust. We teach them to disrespect other Black people. And we frown on it when they go outside of the boundaries that we have drawn. So a lot of it is our fault. But you know what? I also want us to know that we are recent immigrants compared with some of these communities that I have mentioned. Like the Haitians have been coming to the US since forever. Okay, so we are recent. But even though we are recent, because majority of us came after the passage of the Hart-Celler immigration law that enabled for there to be immigration from all parts of the world. Before that, there was discrimination in American immigration. It didn't allow some nationalities to come as you want, you know. So after that, we started coming in large numbers. And then when structural adjustment happened, it didn't only happen in Nigeria. As a matter of fact, Nigeria did not start suffering at the same time as other African countries. It started in the mid-1970s for many African countries. That's when we started coming in large numbers. So we need to learn from the experiences of earlier, especially Black immigrant communities. What have they done that is positive, that is contributing to the well-being of their community? So we have to be doing that simultaneously with finding ways of building coalitions across the divides that we have put in place that are hurting us.
Yeah, and you also argue in your essay that immigrants are often generalized as fleeing wars, which we talk about, the hunger, economic disaster. How these generalizations affect the way African immigrants are perceived in the society and among the policymakers themselves?
Well, you know, so as somebody who has been told by New York police that I'm a starving African, I should go back to where I came because I dress like this, you know, I have to say. And then also as a professor who dresses like this, the first time I go to class, you know, they
like this, you dress in your African attire.
Yeah, they don't recognize that I'm a professor. And then if they see me as the professor, they don't think I have anything that I can teach them, you know. And many of them actually, if they say, okay, she's a professor, they'll think, oh, she's an adjunct. And then some of my colleagues are no better. The ignorance that people have in terms of what Africa is, who Africans are, and the bias that comes from that, is a wet blanket. And it can be very disheartening.
Yeah.
Because as a person who is a professor, I have to prove to people all the time that I know what I know. But I don't, because I know what I know, I'm not taken aback because I'm laughing internally that you will find out. Even if you don't want to know that I know anything, you'll find out. And ultimately people find out. And then the attitude changes, you know. The reason I'm saying I'm laughing inside, I don't need anybody's validation.
Yes.
For me to recognize that I have something worthwhile to contribute to the production of knowledge, and that the work I'm doing is not just for now, it's for posterity. It will live longer than I do, because we don't live forever, you know. So I think that it is incumbent on us to not play the politics of respectability. Like I want you to, you see how I write my name?
Yes.
With accents.
Yeah.
Some of us will say they should call them, my name is Mojúbàolú. In order to make American white people especially feel comfortable, I'll say, call me Mo.
Oh, yeah.
I don't play that.
Yeah.
I actually have my colleagues calling me Mojúbàolú, okay? And actually, some of us also will go and change our accents.
Yeah.
Because we want them to think that we are learned.
Yeah.
We will only wear suits and whatever. So, you know, this thing of trying to make people feel that you are somebody is a waste of time. I'm who I am. And if you don't accept it today, you are going to accept it ultimately. Because my work and my mission and my vision of what I have to contribute is not up for discussion. You know, if I could convince my professors who had a lot of power over me that it is Africa I want to study and not USSR and America.
Yeah.
And it was very costly because my education took longer than it should have taken. If I could do that, why should I be a professor now and start trying to please people, you know, in terms of accept me because I am this and that? People need to, you know, first of all, meditate, then reflect. What is your mission on this earth? And then whether we like it or not, me and you, I think I came 1 year before you, 1981. Yeah. And I said I was going to spend 5 years, get my PhD to Nigeria. But I'm still here. And you were asking me, why did I choose to study African migration? Because I became an African migrant when I didn't intend to. And I said, what does this mean? What are the implications? You know, what are the consequences for me here and for the people I left behind at home? How do I contribute to making things better in my own way? Okay, my job, I'm a professor. I should do research. I should document my research, do analysis, then disseminate my findings. And that's what I have decided to do. And when I saw that nobody was interested in funding, because I approached some foundations and I wrote some grant applications and I saw nobody was funding it, I funded it myself.
Yeah. You just have to.
So if we support one another, it would be less energy sapping.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be duplicating efforts. We can build synergies where you don't have to reinvent the wheel because somebody else has done the groundwork. But it is very hard sometimes to work with people.
And I see even with our people, there's so much power struggle that goes on when
we can't let it stop us, Sha.
Yeah.
No, so I think we have to keep being hopeful that we can. And sometimes you see, in terms of collaboration can be for a time.
Yeah.
And it can be for a longer time. It can be for a short time. I am still looking for the kind of collaboration that will be forever. I haven't found it, but I haven't given up.
Yeah.
So I don't judge what would happen tomorrow based on my bad experiences of the past, because I've had many.
As you were talking, I remember I could see maybe other people may be listening to this who are also professors, but they are younger generation. Maybe from hearing you, they might want to connect with you and say, you know what can I do? Maybe I should connect with Dr. Okome and find out what can she help me with my research work. And I know you'll be open to that as well.
Yes, I have many mentees, actually. And, you know, I have mentees that are students from undergraduate to PhD, both here in the US and in the African continent, some of them in Europe.
Yeah.
I have mentees that are colleagues, they are peers, people who are professors like me.
Yes. Okay.
Because, you know, sharing experiences, we learn from one another about what works and what doesn't, and how to navigate the treachery of what academic politics can be. So I am open to people asking me, to people saying, how did you do it? Or what can I do? And once somebody gets in my circle, I send you lots of information.
And I'm glad you have that kind of approach to things, because not too many of our community are approachable when it comes to things like this. So another question I want to ask you, in your essay, you highlight the assumption of African immigrants, predominantly vendors who are selling things on the street, or they are the hair braider business. How do you believe that this narrative impact the broader African immigrant community, particularly those who are in professional area or pursuing education?
So some of us, because of those stereotypes,
yeah.
we want to then prove that we are not part of those communities. You know what? Those are my people, the hair braiders, the street vendors, even the homeless, and the people in the criminal justice, the children you're talking about who are caught up in the criminal justice system. We are all Africans, right? So I'm not going to throw away my people just because they're not doing well. Then I'm not going to spend energy trying to convince somebody that I'm different. You see, the reason why people don't see me as a professor is that I dress like a hair braider. So in their head, what is this hair braider coming to teach me that I don't know? But they will find out. Don't waste your energy trying to convince somebody that you know what you know. Do it through your work. This is, let the person who thinks I'm a hair braider go and read my paper. But if I now spend all the energy I should spend writing the paper, doing the research and writing, you're trying to convince this person that I'm not a hair braider. Am I intelligent? So, like I said, know your mission, meditate, know your mission, have a vision that connects to that mission, and then do your work in a single-minded way. Now, as you're doing it, what you're doing is more impactful than, having useless conversations, trying to convince somebody that you are important, because everybody, the way I see it here, everybody is important. That hair braider is important. They bring value. That street vendor is important. And you know what? The hair braider and the street vendor might have been even a professor in their country.
Of course. Let me tell you, let me even give you I go to African market on 116th Street. Since my children were young, when they were really, really young, I go to 116th Street and they knew them from a very young, and I sit down with them. We could sit down for hours
and talk.
And just talk. To the extent I become like, oh, my sister, my brother, that's what we say to each other. Now they ask me, where are the children? And I ask them, where are your children too? Everybody, we sit down and we chat, we talk. And I come across some of them that they say, you know what? In my country, I was a lawyer. But because of the language barrier, because I came from a French-speaking country in Africa, it is so difficult for me to, start all over again. And then because I have to raise my children, it's so difficult. So when you don't go into those communities, you wouldn't know what they are all about.
I also know Nigerians who had PhDs, like maybe in the social sciences. They came and started from being what do you call these nurses that are paraprofessional?
Or like home care.
Yeah, that's where they started. And then they go for nursing. They have a PhD. They go for nursing. And then they sometimes go up to like a PhD also in nursing. So you know what? This thing about where we are in terms of the social hierarchy here, it is not indicative of where we came from. And then even, let's say somebody is just a plain street vendor. They only had elementary education. For me, each of us is created by God. Nobody is superior to anybody else. It is circumstances that gave me the opportunity to get to where I am. That doesn't mean that those people that I encounter who are not professors are not intelligent or more intelligent even than me. It's just I had the opportunity. So I respect everybody. And I think everybody has something to contribute. That is useful. And that a wise person, this is how I was raised too. A wise person would always be thinking, were it not for the grace of God, that's where I would be too. And that should make you humble and make you respectful and make you appreciate the fact that this person who is in this humble circumstance is as important as you, and you can learn from them.
Yeah, and that's one thing I appreciate about this country, because I remember having a dialogue with somebody who is a medical doctor, and our community, oh, I'm a doctor, we don't, as if
I'm second to God.
You're second to God. Nobody else knows anything. And I had to ask this person, I said, you talking as if nobody else matters. You're a medical doctor, you could only actually physically take care of a patient. I said, if the electrical bulb in your office got burned down or is not working, if you change the light bulb and it's still not working, you have to call the electrician.
And somebody cleans your office.
Yeah. And the person who cleans your office also is as important, because if it's not clean, there's no way you're going to come in and work
and do your work comfortably.
Even if your toilet is clogged, you have to call the plumber to come in and help you, because if not, you're not going to be able to do anything. So we have to build that in our system, because I see a lot of that among a lot of us African immigrants, especially the Nigerians. And
we're arrogant.
In terms of the way we look at each other in itself. Yeah. Because we lack that respect. It's like, do you know who I am mentally?
So my sister, I said that's the way I was raised in Nigeria by my mother and my father, is to be respectful and humble. When Yoruba say omoluabi, that is part of what it means.
Yeah.
That you are supposed to respect everybody you encounter, because it is only by the grace of God that you had the opportunities that you had. And you know what? Life is an up and down thing. Yeah. You're on top today. Let's say you think being a doctor is on top. Tomorrow you may be at the bottom.
Yeah.
How would you want to be treated? So for me, it has become part of me that I respect everybody. Yeah. On campus, I greet everybody. The security, the cleaners, everybody, the same way as I greet my colleagues. And I have conversations with them when I'm not hurrying to go and do something, because there is no arrogance is a useless modus operandi. I think we need to be humble. We need to realize we can learn from everybody. And then about research. Do you know that you can't do research if you don't talk to people?
Yeah.
So these people are sharing information with you that you now repackage, and you are saying they're foolish. Abby, how can a doctor treat a patient if that patient doesn't tell the doctor what the person is feeling? I know there are diagnostic tests, but it's also important to take patient history. So, I just feel that everybody needs to get off their high horse.
Yeah.
Whatever you are not the first person to know it. There are more intelligent people than you who don't have the opportunities that you have. And then your mission, what is it? What have you done to contribute to the well-being of just even one other human being?
We have a long way to go in terms of extensively talking about compassion and promoting empathy within our community. We have to, because even though we're so religious, but
we're not godly.
But the way we see things, the way we conduct ourselves is not even, that way at all. So it's part of what we need to. So in your essay, Dr. Okome, you also suggested studies should be conducted that will identify the skill that enables African immigrants to succeed or fail. Can you briefly expand on this?
Many of us value education. It's a good thing.
Yes.
But the educational system might be hostile. Okay, so how do you succeed in that hostile environment? Now, for children, I had to fight in my children's elementary, not as much in elementary, but in junior high and high school, to ensure that my children were not being miseducated.
Yes.
And that my children were not being steered away from opportunities that they should be encouraged to pursue. Yeah. So let me give you an example. My older child went to the quote-unquote best public school in New York City. It's a school that people take this test to get into, and you have to be 90th percentile in math or 95th or something, and English to even take the test. And the year my son took it, there were over 2,000 children, only 200 were selected. So ostensibly the best high school. There were two instances when I had to go and have some really serious discussion with the teachers. One was a homework where the history teacher said they should do a poster on slavery and make it, and to sell slaves and make it attractive. I went and had a very hard conversation with that teacher. And as a result of that, I ensured that the teacher apologized to the children, that the school invited speakers who are going to come and correct all these problems that the teacher has now started. I looked at the curriculum and made suggestions, okay? And as long as my child was in that school, that kind of foolishness never happened again. The second one was the guidance counselor, when he was applying to university, said to him that he should apply to the slam dunk schools. Wow. You know, that was the first time I was hearing that kind of expression. I asked my son, I said, what is slam dunk now? He said the schools where he doesn't have to stress, they will just admit him. I said, why? He said that the guidance counselor said that the Ivy League schools are not for him. He can't deal with the stress. So I sought an appointment with the guidance counselor. And I said, when I called him, I said, and I'll be coming with my husband. He said, there's a father in the picture. I said to him, well, Mr. whoever his name is, I've forgotten. I said, everybody has a father, you know. And yes, this father is in the picture, but realize every child has a father. And I can't even believe you're saying this to me, but me and my husband were coming to meet you. So we went. And I asked him, give me an explanation of why you told my son to apply to the slam dunk schools. And he said, oh, he doesn't, so that he's not stressed and whatever. And I said, okay, thank you. I said, are you giving him this advice because academically, he's not up to the task? He said, no, because my son was still in the 90-something percentile. And he was an athlete, and he was, you know, on the national honor, whatever, society. I said, so why? So he didn't have a clear explanation. So I said, listen to me. I said, me that you are looking at, I graduated with a PhD from Columbia. My husband graduated with a PhD from NYU. I said, you know what, if my son was shaky academically, your advice would make sense to me. I said, but I'm not, even your explanation is not making any sense. So I said, you know, this is what is going to happen. And if you cannot contribute to this program that we are drawing for our son to be successful, he's going to apply to any school that he wants. And let me tell you, it's going to be the best schools in this America. If you cannot cooperate with us, just stay out of the way, because I have no time for your foolishness. You know, this is the program. So he says, I know Francophone parents are always like this. I say, what makes you think that we're Francophone? You know, because, okay, Nigerians don't tend to dress in our clothing like every day, like Francophone, the street traders and stuff do. So he thought I was Francophone. So, you know, the point is, us and this guy had this conversation. And you see, when you go and have those conversations, if you lose your temper and you start shouting, they will say you are an angry Black woman, you are not making sense. When I have those kind of conversations, it's like ice water is in my veins. And I asked, okay, give me the logic behind your reasoning. And then he would say something, and then I would ask him another question. And then, you know, after we had the meeting, I said, you see, I want you to put in writing your understanding of what we have discussed. And I will write an email to both you and the principal that gives my perspective. And I said, I'm watching you, okay? This child is like gold to me. Okay? Don't mess with my child because I'm going to escalate. So my son, of course, applied to all the schools he wanted. They were all Ivy League schools. He was selected in 5 and waitlisted on 1. I think it was MIT that waitlisted him. Ultimately, he went to Princeton. So how do parents talk to foolish people like this guidance counselor? It's not by going and start to shout and whatever, or stay away and be intimidated. It is to have a conversation where you show that you are in control, and that you know what you're doing, and that, you know what, we're going to document this. And I am going to escalate if I don't get any satisfaction. So we can learn from one another that way.
Yeah.
And I have helped parents who are friendly with me, whose children end up with this kind of nonsense, or even worse, by writing letters, how to write a letter that puts the school on notice that you cannot mess with my child and get results. And that if some things end up in your child's permanent record, it will follow that child for life. So how to ensure that that doesn't happen? By having the right kind of conversation with the school. And then if necessary, having legal advice and follow up, so those are the kind of things. And then in graduate school, how do you navigate when your professor is being evil? How do you navigate on the job, like an academic job, when they are trying to shoot you down, So those kind of things are what I'm saying, that, it's important to share information. It's also important to have mentoring. I think mentoring is one of the ways through which you can do that. And then it's important for the people who know to sacrifice time and energy.
Yeah.
And not in an arrogant way, but in a way that sort of gives that information in an empathetical way. So also, all the things I learned about where the good schools are, how to get financial aid, I shared with my circle of friends.
Yeah. The same thing, I passed the message around to African immigrant community and said, we have to mentor each other. Even in parenting, we have to mentor each other.
And support each other.
In terms of many of the issues our children may be going through in school, or even the better school for your children, how to navigate this college program, in terms of getting your children in a very good university.
With good financial aid.
With a good financial aid, whereby your children will come with almost zero, student loan.
Based on your income, you might not get zero, but you will get
something.
Good support. Yeah.
You get a lot of support, even if you have high income. But I've seen people who make over $500,000 in their salary, and they end up, their children still get something.
Yeah, because the academics and then the well-roundedness of the student helps. And then, I think many people make the mistake of staying away from the highly selective colleges that are Ivy League. And those are exactly the ones that have the resources to give children the right education. But when the children are there, they can also face discrimination. Yeah. Let's be clear. So it is important to then give one's children the support that they need to succeed and to own that space, not to be like on the sidelines or trying to play to the gallery by getting people who they should not respect to like them, but by claiming the space in a dignified way.
Yeah, and even information about, because not every kid will be able to get into Ivy League. You have some nice liberal arts colleges, because some kids...
Some of the liberal arts colleges are actually ranked higher than some of the Ivy League colleges for undergraduate education. So I think also, wherever a child goes, don't say that now they are grown and leave them to their own devices. They still need
your support. Yeah.
They still need affirmation.
Yes.
They still need advice.
Yeah.
And you see, sometimes what I would say to my own child that they wouldn't listen to, you might say it to them.
And they
and
will
they
listen.
listen. So we have to, that way, kind of build communities where we are supporting all our children. And then when the children fail, because that happens sometimes, don't now start piling rocks on top of that child. It is important to find ways of supporting that child to build back to success. Because
life is about up and down anyway, and they have to understand failure is like I read a book,
an opportunity to learn.
Failure is an option because it's for you to learn and to be able to build strength on how to get up again. So
and there's mental illness. There's mental illness. A lot of times, our communities don't want to acknowledge that there's mental illness. And so if a child needs mental health care and you are denying, or you think that you can pray it away. I mean, prayer is good, don't get me wrong. But medicine is also good. And therapy is good.
It's good.
So some of the things that we do that make our children even feel that they don't want to talk to us, we need to stop. Because sometimes, and with the right kind of support, anybody that is struggling will do better. But if we have all these negative stereotypes about seeking help for things that can be addressed, we are going to make life more difficult for our children and for people in our community, because, it's not only children who have mental health issues. Sometimes adults do too. But they will not talk about it because we have stereotypes, we have stigma, we kind of laugh behind the back of the person or laugh at them to their face. We need to stop all that, realize that we build better together. If we support one another, my success is important, but what use is it if I'm the only successful one?
And that's part of what I've done in this podcast, to bring awareness of mental health into the community. Even I've interviewed many of our children who are in mental health profession, and they've come and talk. And we have to actually openly talk about it. And how do we educate our community about this? That there's a need to push for acceptance, to educate even the support religious leaders, for them to understand
they need training.
You cannot pray all this away. And we need more profession like that, who are actually culturally
culturally intelligent
in terms of they have cultural awareness that this is how you have to deal with this population. How do we then train them to understand there's a need for this particular issue, that to bring the help that is necessary, we could thrive, So thank you so much for that, Dr. Okome. And I know we've talked about brain drain. There's so much I want to talk to you about. I hope I'm not taking too much of your time.
How about we do part 2 like Nollywood?
Right, part 2. We've talked about brain drain and everything, and we've talked about so many things that brought us here. And you talk about the idea of going back home and giving back to where we came from. What strategy do you think African nations can implement to retain the talent and to encourage the return of those who migrated, or even to talk about collaboration?
My sister, do you know that during President Obasanjo's administration, he started this diaspora initiative where they said they were doing a database of people and skills that the people had. And I know for a fact that as a result of that exercise, Obasanjo brought some Nigerians from the diaspora back to Nigeria and placed them in key positions.
Yes, listener, thank you for joining me on this conversation. Dr. Okome has to leave on emergency basis. She has a family emergency that she needed to attend to immediately, but I think we're going to have to do part 2 because there's so much I still
want to talk to Dr. Okome about regarding parenting in America as an African immigrant. And I bet she has so much experience to share with our audience and our community in the diaspora. So in closing, I want to say, Pansa Pansa continue to normalize conversation about the importance of community engagement, about African immigrant experiences in America and in the diaspora. As I always say, as we publicly continue to discuss issues within our community, we're shredding away stigma associated with uncomfortable dialogue. So I want to thank Dr. Okome again for coming to Pansa Pansa podcast to share a wealth of knowledge on these important topics. Our work not only shed light on the problem that African immigrants face in America, but also challenges the narrative that is often overlooked, our diverse contribution in America and in the diaspora in general anyway. So, and I'm sure the listener will gain valuable perspective from this discussion. And I'm incredibly grateful for your time, Dr. Okome, and the wisdom you shared today. Thank you again for coming in, and I really cherish this time. Thank you.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Pansa Pansa Live Podcast. We hope to have you back with us in the next episode as we continue to explore the nuances of the African immigrant experience. If you'd like to connect with us, you can email us at talk@pansapansa.org. That is talk@pansapansa.org. And follow us on Instagram at pansa.pansaforum. Until next time, remember to spread kindness and love. Thank you and take care of yourself.